Vitamin water was born in New York because New Yorkers wanted more flavor to pair with all the amazing food in the city. You can have the best meal in the world here, if you can get a reservation. Vitamin water is so New York, its 3 favorite cheeses are chopped cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese, and a slice of cheese pizza. We know where to get the best sushi in the city, and best nachos, and best bagels, and best... You get it. And you can find food trucks better than 5-star restaurants. Drink Vitamin water. It's from New York.
Some things work better together, like NARS's Soft Matte Complete Concealer and Radiant Creamy Concealer. Soft Matte Complete Concealer erases and blurs imperfections with full coverage. Then, Radiant Creamy Concealer evens and brightens with a luxurious texture and radiant finish. 2 concealers, 1 flawless look. Perfect for a no-foundation base. NARS, better together. Visit Ulta to shop now.
At the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, get deals so right, it almost feels wrong. Now's the best time to get that Hyundai you've always wanted. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with America's best warranty and 3 years or 36,000 miles of limited complimentary maintenance. Don't think you can get away with all that? Think again. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. It's a great day for a new Hyundai.
We all know computers are listening to everything we say and do. Just one search for granola bar will trigger a flood of sponsored ads about cereal, drinking establishments, and oat-based beverages to drink while out. So what better way to fuel our paranoia than to watch a film about a tech CEO violating all sorts of privacy laws and terms of service? Put the sticky over your webcam. It's time to see if Antitrust is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies, and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Hello to all of our listeners in Richardson, Texas, and around the world. How you guys doing? All right. Every now and then, we hit the whiteboard that has a ton of movies listed on it, and this film has been on not just the whiteboard, but on the coming soon page for a while now. It's time to knock off Antitrust. And here to join me, I'm joined by a team. First of all, my lovely wife, Carrie, is in the house. Carrie, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am so stoked to be talking about this movie.
All right.
Happy to be here.
And also on the line is our lovely guest, Carson. Carson, how are you doing?
Am I allowed to talk if I don't have a canister of Pringles in front of me to obnoxiously eat?
That depends. Are you aspiring to be a bloodthirsty CEO ready to take over the world?
I can dream.
Okay.
I'm doing well, though. I'm doing well.
At this point, you're at the yellow no-name can of chips. You're not at Pringle status yet.
I'm not. It's a great value brand. There we go.
So I will admit that I kind of threw this movie at both of you. So Carson, as you were watching probably the trailer and then the movie itself, did you know about this movie before getting into this?
So I had never heard of this movie at all. And I remember when you sent me the kind of list of some options of what we could possibly do, this was the one I really I stuck to. And I think once I watched the trailer for the movie, and I watched it right on Tubi where I watched it. So the original, trailer from the 2000s, it seemed like, I literally sat back and I was like, this is what It's Not That Bad was made for. This is peak for this show. And I'm so stoked to talk about it because that is why we live for this show. So I'm stoked on life.
Now, Carrie, I know I forced you to watch this a long time ago when it came out. So revisiting this, were you surprised?
I'm not going to lie. I completely forgot about this movie. And even though I think that even though it was a marker, it was a whiteboard marker, I think it's permanently etched in your whiteboard. It's been there so long that I think the sun has actually tattooed Antitrust onto your whiteboard. I was, again, pleasantly surprised and shocked at how good this movie is because it wasn't on my radar. It wasn't. And it was almost like a hidden gem that was much forgotten if we had seen it. I honestly don't remember ever seeing it.
You probably fell asleep during the credits.
But I have watched it like 3 times since the initial viewing of it. So I am ready. I am ready to defend with, my can of Pringles and my twisted tea. I'm ready to go.
All right. So we are about to dive into this early 2000s films. But before we do, it is time to take Antitrust and trailerize it.
It is the year 2001. The world has survived Y2K only to find themselves ready to distrust their computers even more. Enter Milo, a geek programmer with no job but a super hot girlfriend, which already tells you that this is a work of fiction. He gets recruited by Nerve, a company with a CEO that can best be described as, what if Mr. Rogers was actually a serial killer when the camera stopped rolling? He wants Milo to help him finish the program and make Nerve the biggest company ever. But when Milo's friend is killed, everything gets plot twisty. It's a film that tries the impossible, make code jockeys cool. Ryan Phillippe and Tim Robbins star in Antitrust, rated PG-13 for Programmer Guy.
Oh, no.
I feel like Programmer Guy would be the kind of hero that would have, rather than a cape, just a long stretch of code printed out on like old school classic printer paper, the kind that was all perforated with the holes on the side. And am I showing my age right now?
Yeah.
No, I get you.
A little, kind of.
I am. I'm showing my age right now. But
At least you didn't say Xeroxing it, so we're good.
Right. But the funny thing is, people of a certain age, as I described that printer paper, they can hear the printer. And now they're having flashbacks of bad office time. And I am so sorry that I have reinstituted that office PTSD for you all.
Talking about old tech, though, I'm just thinking back to 2001.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, we owe this movie a lot of credit because the things that they were talking about, the functionality of cell phones, is exactly what we have today.
Yeah.
So
is Nerve just Starlink? I don't know.
Well, I mean, at least they're not Cyberdyne Systems and Skynet, so we're kind of safe there. But the funny thing is, and I'll have to say this, at no point did I remember hearing the very loud modem noises trying to connect. So clearly they had their CompuServe working really good. Yeah, I just went out full 2001, didn't I?
That was beautiful, though. That was inspiring.
All right. So let's get into who is in this movie. The movie stars Ryan Phillippe, Tim Robbins, Rachel Lee Cook, Claire Forlani, Richard Roundtree, Tig Runyon, Yi Ji So, and Douglas McFerrin. It was directed by Peter Howitt, who, now tell me if this guy doesn't have range as a director, has also directed Sliding Doors and Johnny English. Yeah. Rowan Atkinson as a spy, and then Gwyneth Paltrow in like one of those multiversal kind of movies. Like, dude's got range as a director. The movie had a budget of $30 million. Domestically, it only made $11 million. Worldwide, only made $18 million. When it was released on the January 12th, 2001 weekend, it debuted at number 12 with $5.4 million. The top grossing film that week was the debut of Save the Last Dance, which was debuted at $27.5 million. But yeah, 12. And it's not even you can say it was in a limited number of theaters. It was wide release. But I will also point out that usually movies released in January don't always have the best box office, but $5.5 million, debuting at number 12. Maybe not the most stellar debut for this film.
It's not even deserved, truth be told. Like, I know we'll get into it more, but like, come on. Like, what else, do you have anything in front of you that says like what 2, 3, or even 4 were?
All right, let me go through the list from 1 to 12 here, okay? So number 1, Save the Last Dance. Number 2 was Castaway. Okay, no worries. Tom Hanks, all good. Number 3 was Traffic. Number 4 was Double Take. Number 5 was The Fifth Week of What Women Want. Number 6 was 13 Days. Number 7 was Finding Forrester. Miss Congeniality was in its 4th week at number 8. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was it in its 6th week at number 9. The Emperor's New Groove at number 10. And The Family Man at number 11. So it's not like it's a... There are some namer films in there, but it's not like it's a stunning box office list.
No, and it's like, I don't know what's worse, the placement it has or the fact that Miss Congeniality and Emperor's New Groove is 24 years old.
You're going to make me feel old, aren't you, dude?
I feel like we all need to feel old here. Like, this was a moment when you read that out that I was like, I don't consider myself that old. I feel like I'm a pretty young lad, all things considered. And I sat there just hearing that being like, wow.
Yeah.
24 years ago.
I will say, though, that on a per theater basis, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon was the top film, bringing in just a little bit more per theater than Save the Last Dance. Antitrust still would have hit like number 12, but that's neither here nor there. There were some accolades for this film. At the 2001 Teen Choice Awards, Ryan Phillippe was nominated for Choice Film Actor, but lost to Ben Affleck for Pearl Harbor. And the film was nominated for Choice Horror or Thriller, lost to Urban Legends Final Cut, which, you know what, under horror and thriller, I can kind of see that. But at the 2001 Shanghai International Film Festival Awards, it won for Best Film, and Peter Howitt won for Best Director. But the reason why we're here, not because I needed to find a way to get that ink off of the whiteboard, are the critics. Over Rotten Tomatoes, this film has a lowly tomatometer of only 23%. The popcorn meter sits at 50%. But let's get the bigger picture on this. Over at IMDb, it sits at 6.1 stars out of 10 for a 61%. A Metacritic score of 31. Letterboxd sits at 2.8 stars out of 5 for a 56% score, and at the Movie Database sits at 60%, giving this film the aggravated aggregate of 46.83%. So, Carson, I'm going to start with you. From a range of 23% for the tomatometer and 61% over at IMDb, are we in the middle here, or are one of these closer to where you think this film should sit?
I'm honestly closer to the IMDb side of things. Like, I feel like we give these types of movies like a lot of shit, and I don't necessarily think it's fair. Like, do I have some problems with it? Yeah. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But I feel like as we kind of get into the era where, you know how when we were through the 2010s, 90s movies were coming like through that resurgence of kind of like the 20-year period, I do feel like we're hitting that with a lot of these early 2000s movies where the style is so over the top. It's so, I don't even know what to call it. Kind of like not flashy. What's a better word for this? You guys got to help me out. Like what's...
No, there was definitely a style for those early 2000 films. Yeah. Like very quick cut, very like, you know, smash and flash kind of editing kind of thing. Like it was almost like MTV-esque kind of editing to the films.
Exactly. And you know what? I think that has a pretty valuable place in cinema. And not just because it's fun to look back on and be like, wow, like that is such an encapsulation, I feel like, of the early 2000s. But like, it's just a fun time. Like, it's just a fun movie. Does it all make inherent sense? No. Does it all come together perfectly? No. But, like, it's a damn good hour and 50 minutes. And I never really had a point where I was sitting in a lull being like, get on with this. It dragged a little bit for me once we kind of hit the midpoint of the movie where Milo starts to find out that everyone is pretty much just connecting back to Tim Robbins and what he's doing. But I think it's a really fun time. I thought it was paced well. I thought there were some moments that were serious, but obviously were honestly kind of funny because it just the tone didn't work. But you know what? Like, I've witnessed a lot worse movies on this show for a lot less enjoyment. So like, I cannot sit here and even say anything really super negative about it. It was a fun time.
Why do I feel like that's like the hallmark of this podcast? What did you think of it? Well, I've seen worse while being on this show, so
I was
there's
going
got
to
to be a benchmark.
like the tagline for the show for sure.
Welcome to It's Not That Bad. There's always worse. Carrie, from like that 23% to that 61%, where would you kind of point this film at?
I really liked this film, so I think anything less than 50 is not fair. I mean, again, it wasn't a perfect film, but I tend to go with the audience. Like, the critics are always very critical, right? And I think that, I don't know, maybe the caliber of the cast was a bit of a detriment to the critics' take on it.
That weight of expectation, I can understand that.
Yeah, because, I mean, as far as like a Tim Robbins film, this was, I don't know, maybe very much the underdog, right? Like when you compare his other roles, like Shawshank Redemption. But you know what? There was a certain, I think the way he played this character, it was kind of like, I don't know, like a computer geek that never quite grew up, you know, and yet he had this darker side to his personality where he was a bit manic and a bit unhinged. And it was just, you know what, again, I think the weight of expectation really was a detriment to this movie.
USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks, or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Visit USAA.com/bundle.
Bundle savings are off total premium, not available in all states or in all situations. To qualify, auto policy must be active prior to property policy issue, subject to change. Restrictions apply. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
This episode is brought to you by Heyday. Feeling stressed? Take a moment for yourself with Heyday. Stroll through rows of golden wheat, tend to cute barnyard animals, and discover the joys of a digital farm retreat. You don't have to hop in a car or catch a plane. Escape to the farm at the tap of a finger. With Heyday, you're not just tending to a farm, you're tending to yourself. Heyday. Search Heyday, that's Hay space DAY, in your favorite app store. Heyday is a free-to-play mobile game and offers optional in-app purchases and random rewards.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
All right, well, let's get into this film. And we're going to start with Ryan Phillippe, who played Milo Hoffman. Carrie, starting with you, your thoughts on Ryan Phillippe?
I liked him. There were some character flaws that I found very quickly. I mean, for a guy that, you know, was in a position that he learned very quickly that there's nobody really he could trust, he was still pretty trusting. And you know, kind of almost daft, like, you know, sharing his plans and his execution of how he's going, like his master plan and how he's going to expose all of the wrongdoing. It was kind of like, okay, like stop talking and just do. Like, I don't know. It was, and I'm sure that's a scripting error where they put a little bit too much into it and there was a little less room for suspense.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where, and I understand why he's pretty open with Lisa, Rachel Lee Cook's character. There are thoughts on this that didn't make the final cut, but I understand why that connection is there to begin with, but we'll get to that in a little bit. I do like the fact that Ryan Phillippe isn't playing this like some kind of Tom Cruise superhero character. He's a programmer. He's a code jockey. He's not an athletic kind of superhero. He's just Milo.
No, but you would think he'd be a little bit smarter.
Okay, but there's book smart and there's reality smart.
I was just about to say, I'm like, he's book smart. I don't know if he's street smart. I think that's where And honestly, I'm okay with that distinction, personally speaking. Like, I think it helps ground him because you know what? He's into his programming, he's into his computers, he's got a small group of friends, and you know what? Like, he doesn't have a lot of life experience outside of his computer. And I feel like, honestly, it grounds it a little more for me. Is it kind of at times being like, okay, we get it. You're like, and everyone refers to them as the geeks. So like, I just think it's funny too that they still like thrust that narrative. I think it's still grounded though. Like it still works for me.
But does Ryan Phillippe work in the role for you?
I don't know. He reminds me a lot of Emil Hirsch, where like there's just kind of these like random blank stare moments where I'm like, "Are you in there, buddy? Like, you are you good?" And it's like,
Ryan, are we home?
No, literally. And I sit there at times and be like, I just want to like wave my hand like across his face and be like, "Hey, buddy, like we're in a movie here. Like you can have one more, like a different facial expression." But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if you guys thought the same way, but Milo's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of an ass. Like, I don't know what to tell you. He kind of shafts his friends right away. He doesn't communicate well with the people around him until he starts to like kind of need them. And like, even it's like, there's this really weird scene. Probably, in my opinion, just one of the more awkward scenes in the movie. And it's when he's meeting with Gary for the first time and he like gets to tour the property. And they're like sitting on that like cliffside looking at like the house and the buildings. And then like Barry looks and like or Gary says something to him and then begins to walk away. But Milo just like stands there and just like gazes off into the horizon. I'm like, buddy, this isn't even your property. Like, I feel like you should be like, going with them. Like, you're just kind of awkwardly standing on this cliffside. But anyway, I think it's fun. Like, Milo is such a one of those characters that you're just like, yes. Like, you are doing exactly what this movie expects of you and nothing more and nothing less. And that's okay.
I mean, think about it too. In the 4 years leading up to the release of this film, Ryan Phillippe was in movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer, 54, Playing by Heart, Cruel Intentions, The Way of the Gun. Ryan Phillippe's on a hot streak going into this film. And it feels like they knew exactly the demographic they were going for by adding someone like Ryan Phillippe, along with Claire Forlani, along with Rachel Lee Cook. The cast as a group makes sense.
It absolutely is. And I don't know if you guys felt this too, but there's moments where like I consistently forget he's supposed to be like 22 to 25 because like I'm sitting there looking at him and I see him like pour a glass of wine and I'm like, Chief, you're like 17, man. you should not be with this partner in this situation in this house. Like go back to school. Like, what are you doing? You should be in class right now.
But I think the thing here is that you clearly brought him in for, the name recognition. You brought him in because, he's of that moment, that MTV kind of moment. And in this role, I mean, it does make sense, right? They're recently out of college or university, him and his group of coders, they're working on something key, and all of a sudden the biggest exec of the biggest company that half of them trust and half of them don't shows up and says like, I want to interview you and hire you. It's like, of course he's going to go, but of course he's got the rest of his team, his buddies going, yeah, I'm going to work for them. No, you would. They all would.
I'm glad you said that because I'm sitting there being like, Teddy, get off your high horse. You know damn well that you want to go and just do it.
Yeah. But maybe, I don't know, maybe there's just a jealousy thing there. Also, and I have to point this out, I'm going to get this out of my system now. They're monitoring all these programmers. Sorry, spoilers like a mofo. Okay, dear listeners, spoilers like a mofo. And here's where the spoilers are coming. They are monitoring all of these coders and trying to steal all of their work. If they're monitoring this group, they freaking know that Teddy's the one doing all the work. There is no way Milo was holding on to someone like Claire Forlani's Alice Paulson character if he's just sitting there in front of a computer and coding all day. All right. Moving on to, as we mentioned her, Claire Forlani as Alice Paulson. I'm not going to spoil everything, but Alice Paulson. Carson, over to you.
Okay, so like, I think she's a fun part of the movie. I think once you kind of get around like 35, 40 minutes in, you start to realize that like, oh buddy, you're getting played. And you're a little sad about it. And then like, I don't know. For some reason, I now just associate her with sesame seeds. Like I'm kind of just sitting there, and every time I see her, I just think about how obnoxiously the movie tries to randomly thrust sesame seeds into scenes with her, into scenes with her, and it's just really hard for me to take seriously once you get past the back half of the movie, because you see her and you're like, "Where's the goddamn sesame seeds?" You're just like, it's just such a weird plot point to have, and like I completely get it. Like I understand. I feel like it got way too much backstory too. Like you saw like the photos of his allergy tests and everything, and we're like, okay, we get it. He's allergic to sesame seeds. And it's just then she's like hiding them like drugs. Like they're in the friggin' toolbox and another box underneath, and you're like, it's like sesame seeds are the cocaine of this household. It's even in a dime bag.
Baby just needs a hit sometimes.
Apparently. And it's just, for some reason, like, I think she's a fun character. I think she's good for what she does in the movie. I don't hate any of the scenes she's in. I think it comes to a nice rounded point at the end that I'm completely fine with. But there's just moments where I look at her and I'm just waiting for the goddamn sesame seeds to come out.
Carrie, Alice, for you, your thoughts?
Oh, as soon as her intentions were made clear, I was like, this was a setup clearly from the get-go. Like, Milo was pegged to be the one. Like, and it just, it cheapened every scene with her previous. You know, it was just kind of like,
It really hurts the start. I don't mean to cut you off, but do you find that too? Like after you find out that within like the first 20 minutes, you kind of feel like, oh, he's got this like nice girlfriend, nice grounded character, and it kind of just nukes that entire like first 25 minutes.
Yeah, very much. And that's the thing. It's hard once you realize what's going on. It's hard to go back.
Yeah.
Right. You can't undo. Yeah. It definitely antitrust. I distrust her.
I mean, I will admit that this film, when it comes to some of these plot twists that happen in the film, they're subtle like a sledgehammer. You can kind of see it coming once you realize it. And then on second watch, you're like, yeah, no, should have seen this coming a mile away. She's straight sus right out of the gate. But it's
Here's
one
the
of
real question. How much money would it take for you to do that to someone? Like how much money, realistically speaking, would it take for you to play someone for that longevity and that hard? Like, what's the dollar figure?
Hey,
I don't even think that's not even an option.
I mean, admittedly, yes, her character has troubles with the law. Her family has troubles with the law. So clearly she's being not manipulated, but she's basically being blackmailed to do this. So, you know, I'm sure there are worse assignments that they have given people, but...
You know what really troubled me, though, was the death of the friend, right? Where
yes.
That's where, for the first time, I saw genuine emotion from her, and then I'm realizing, well, how did you not expect it, right? Like, if you were part of this plan...
Well, I don't know if she expected Teddy to be killed. By the way,
no.
spoilers. I don't know if she expected that level. Like, obviously she knows that these guys are being monitored and manipulated into doing what Nerve needs them to do from a coding perspective, and that's whatever. Like that's for lack of a better term, it's a victimless crime, even though there are victims as far as intellectual property goes. But the minute Teddy gets killed, obviously the warning signs have to go off, because these are people that have basically coerced her into being a fake girlfriend to Milo. So all of a sudden the reality kind of hits a little bit more there.
Well, she seemed very knowing, right? Like that scene that she was on the phone and she hangs up and she's like, asshole. And it's like she was so much in on
the
part of the plot that you have to wonder, like, how did she just miss that part of the plot? Like, I don't know.
So I gotta ask too, because I've been kind of stewing on this for a couple days now, and it popped into my mind. Is Antitrust just Tech Bro, the Fast and the Furious? Like, think about it for a minute. You have a guy that gets the opportunity to roll with a really well-known crew while also having someone that's pretending to be his partner so that they can get information for an upper group while planning a big final kind of runoff with the last shipment and or the code and like is it kind of tech bro Fast and Furious?
I mean, obviously, there's going to be comparisons drawn to another movie that we've covered on this show, The Circle, which starred Tom Hanks and, of course, Hermione Granger herself, Emma Watson, and Karen Gillan and John Boyega. And I found that film to be really, really good. And that film actually has a much lower tomatometer than this one. But I understand why that one does, because that one's based on a book, The Circle, by Dave Eggers, and completely deviates the end of the book. Like, it was doing all good, and then the book went one way, and the film went the complete opposite direction. So I understand that one. Here, about 16 years before The Circle comes out, or something along those lines, you have this very much, and especially right in the middle of the dot-com bubble. Right in the middle of, like, everything is tech bro in 2001. And then, of course, everything bursts. So I wonder if this film came out a little too late to kind of capitalize on that.
That's a fair shout. I'm not going to lie. That's a different way of compartmentalizing things.
Rachel Lee Cook, who played Lisa Callahan. Carson, over to you. Your thoughts on her?
Truth be told, like, I was reading the Letterboxd reviews for this after the movie, and like a lot of people enjoyed her presence in the movie. And like, I don't know. I just like, I feel like it would have been better for Milo to have like an actual person on the inside that wasn't corrupt. And like, I guess that comes down to who was the security guard? Was it Phil? Or is that who am I thinking of?
That was Douglas McFerrin, who played Bob Schrott.
Yes. So like, I guess like he kind of comes down to being that character, which I'm okay with, but like I wish he was just like an actual positive piece for Milo, because I really don't gain anything from her big turn at the end, especially because we find out that she's actually in on it, and then they just get on a plane, and then we just see an exposition that the plane was stopped by the feds. So like, I'm just kind of sitting here being like, I don't know, like I would have been fine with kind of taking Alice as Lisa, and you know what I mean? Like, I would have been fine with Alice being the one that kind of leaves and gets on the plane, because at the end of the day, she's like the one that like played him for however long, months, years, whatever. And then having Lisa be like the grounded one that like takes him home while also then escaping to get away from whether it was Nerve or the Fed, like whatever, right? Like, I just feel like I wanted to switcheroo.
Yeah. Carrie, your thoughts on Rachel Lee Cook?
I completely agree. Like, there was something, I mean, obviously they scripted the character to be dark and mysterious and very standoffish to everybody who worked there. So, you know, I saw it coming. You know, I was like, there's just something, like, don't trust her. Why are you formulating a plan with her and telling her your plan and intentions? Because there's something not right there.
Yeah.
You know, she's going to turn on you.
Now, I need to bring this up because I put these three people first on the list because there are a few deleted scenes from this film, and some of those scenes are actually in the trailer and then didn't make the movie. So there's a few scenes with Milo and Lisa where all of a sudden they end up having sex at a motel room because they need to get away from being, you know, they think they're being watched. So now we've got Milo as, you know, cheating on Alice. There's a scene apparently where after he basically realizes that Alice isn't exactly who Alice says she is, there's apparently a rough sex scene that didn't make the cut as well. All of these scenes being taken away, I think, is good for Milo's character, but it also explains a little bit why Milo confides in Lisa to begin with.
Do we know where the scenes were supposed to be like slotted, do you think? Like, I think it changes things though if Milo knows that Alice is a rat, Like, not that I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like it just does kind of change things for me in rationale, no?
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently the rough sex scene was supposed to be around the sesame seed scene. So that kind of makes sense.
Which one, Jason? Which goddamn sesame scene are we talking about?
It's all about the sesame, man. You know, she's dealing in sesame these days. But Carrie, had they kept the scene where Milo and Lisa kind of scooch away to the hotel room and clearly have had sex, do you think that ruins both their characters, or do you think that gives Lisa almost an extra layer for Milo to trust her and then to really pile on the turn at the end?
No, I think that would be the worst character flaw for Milo. Like, that would just make, I mean, he's supposed to come out of this the hero.
Mm-hmm.
And that would make him just as bad.
But I wonder too, because Carson, earlier you said that Milo's kind of a dick.
Okay, because that's what I was gonna say. Is I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I still think Milo is an asshole. So like, I don't necessarily think that, for me personally, that would change how I feel about him at the end. Like, I'm just sitting there being like, I don't know. Like, did he do a good thing at the end of the day? 100%. Like, there was such that battle of open source and that battle in programming from when this movie came out all the way to now still. And I'm like, I think that at the end of the day, he did a good thing in regards to the plot and to the company and to what they were building. But like, it doesn't change the fact to me that like Milo's still kind of like a dick. Like, it's kind of like how I view J.K. Rowling. Like, she made a great like universe, but like, I don't love who J.K. Rowling is. So like, that's just kind of how I feel. Not to the same extent, let me just say, very vast. They're like comparable in terms of a lineage, not comparable in terms of actuality, but like just that vibe of like someone that does something at the end of the day that's really positive and good, but maybe is a problematic human being on the other side.
It makes you wonder too if those scenes, because I mean, obviously they filmed them, obviously because they're in the trailer. It's one of those things where I wonder if that's why Milo is the way he is in this film, and that's why it kind of feels off a little bit until near the end.
You know what? That would make sense to me. Like, I could see how putting it in changes his demeanor through the second act. So, like, I think it's fair. Am I happy it's not in there? Yes. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, was it remotely needed? Absolutely not. Did it change the plot for me? No. Would it kind of ground him and Lisa's connection, I guess, a little bit better, physically speaking? I suppose. But, like, I'm with Carrie, where I'm like, it just does really nothing for me.
Tim Robbins, who played Gary Winston, the CEO of Nerve. Carrie, your thoughts on him?
Absolutely loved his performance in this. He was literally like an overgrown child that never grew up, and he is in a position well beyond his mental capacity. But Tim Robbins played it so incredibly well. Like, he was the points where he was giving Milo the tour around the campus, and you know, having him work out problems on his computer, or you know, just like that almost childlike excitement that Tim Robbins was able to perform. Like, he was literally like a grown man-child. And he was, again, like the scenes where he got really angry and really, like almost abusive of his staff, his lawyers and such. It was such a turn. Like, Tim Robbins is such a great actor because he's a chameleon. He could literally go from like one to the other, and he did, and it was great. I like him. I really liked his performance.
The whole man-child thing, I mean, you have to consider his position, right? He is the CEO of Nerve. He's clearly been in power for a while, probably since, if he sees a bit of Milo in himself, or a bit of himself in Milo, then clearly that this is all he has been doing for time immemorial. And given what he's been able to achieve, clearly this is someone who's never been told no. This is someone who has had people kowtow to him and cater to him and do his bidding no matter how wrong it is. He's a sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Winston is a straight up sociopath that never had to grow up and never had to hear the word no. So the fact that he is that guy, it's brilliant. The Pringles make sense. There's a deleted scene where like he mysteriously calls Milo in the end of, in the middle of the night, like, I need you to come over to the house. I need you to help me with something that's very important. And he gets there and apparently he's like helping him with his Diablo character because he never freaking grew up and he's still that guy. I kind of wish that scene was still in because it would have put a little bit more mystique around Gary and tried to maybe soften the distrust that Milo might be feeling. But Carson, your thoughts on Tim Robbins?
Carrie, I am so with you. Gary is the sickest part of this movie. And it's not even close. Like, he is the most fun to see on screen. And I feel like the best way for me to kind of represent it is, have you guys seen Weird, the Al Yankovic story?
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like Tim Robbins is playing Gary as if Gary was Bill Gates, and it's exactly what Daniel Radcliffe did for Weird Al, where it's this weird parody character that just works for me. And I think at the end of the day, the product placement in here makes me laugh because you got the Pringles and you got the Pepsi. And I think after watching Gary consume both of those, I would rather eat Lay's and drink Coke because it is some of the most gnarly stuff you have ever seen. Like when he's over Milo at the computer and he's just fisting Pringles and shit's coming out of his mouth, it's falling. And then I'm going to do it on camera here. No one would be able to see it. But when he grabs the Pepsi and he's sitting there and then he just is like, just lips out, logo out, the most disgusting thing ever. And it makes me howl because it's exactly as you guys said. He is a child. And it's pretty much the equivalent of the child getting complete control of the playground. Gary is the most entertaining part of this movie. And it's just so fun to watch Tim Robbins when he's on screen.
To quote Roger Ebert in talking about this film, he said he was surprised the writers didn't protect against libel by having the villain wear a name tag saying, "Hi, I'm not Bill," because it was so very much a Bill Gates-esque kind of performance. Now, apparently, a Microsoft spokesman had come out and said, from the trailers, we couldn't tell if the movie was about America Online or Oracle. So I'm sure it's one of those things where there's always these stories about these people behind these companies and what these companies are doing. So I'm sure it's probably a little bit, let's take a little bit of this, let's take a little bit of that, and we'll put it into a plot salad and we'll mesh them all together there. But I mean, like, does that add to this or take away from it?
That's a great question. I think, to me, it kind of adds to it in a really weird way. Like, Carrie, how do you feel about it?
You know what? I think the fact that he was so... You were absolutely right.
Stop right there.
Said that he is completely a sociopath because he is, but he plays it so damn well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, it's that you don't... I think everybody around him and who works for him, you don't know which version you're going to get.
Yeah.
And Milo learned that very quickly where there was that scene where he snapped on him and then kind of realized that he's like, okay, this is my star kid right now. So I'm sorry, like, let's be cool. Let's, here, have
some more Pringles.
I was going to say have a car, have a, have a day off. I don't know. But but he would turn on a dime and you don't know what version you're going to get. And Tim Robbins played this so well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a composite character, probably a little bit of Bill Gates, probably a little bit of other, tech CEOs kind of thing. If anyone has ever watched the recent movie Mickey 17, Mark Ruffalo kind of does the same thing. It's a composite character of all these really bad world leaders thrown into one. There's a little bit of mannerisms here from mannerisms from there kind of thing, and toss them all in and create this really horrible character. Tim Robbins clearly did the homework and took a little bit of this and a little bit of that and made someone that is frighteningly brilliant.
I'm just glad that Tim Robbins wasn't wearing the worst veneers you've ever seen and also talking about what sauce he's having this week.
Yeah. Like, Hulk, don't smash that.
I do wonder, though, is there another actor that could pull it off to this extent, to the same extent as Tim Robbins?
Tom Hanks.
Okay, fair.
That was a little
without
quick.
Pausing, Tom Hanks.
But at that point, it becomes the circle then.
Fair. Actually, you know who and of course, people who listen to this podcast on a regular basis are going to sit there and go, oh, you're going down that road again. Michael Sheen would have killed this role.
Ooh.
I'm thinking about that for a minute.
Yeah. You tell me Michael Sheen, star of Prodigal Son, wouldn't absolutely slay in this.
Yeah,
but I feel like Tim Robbins brings such a, no, it's all good. I feel like he brings such a youthful vibe that Michael Sheen necessarily wouldn't have brought. Like, I feel like even though Tim Robbins was, I would assume, and he was in his 40s at this point when the movie was filmed, he still has that like boyish look that like keeps it a little more like grounded for me. And I think that's why it just fits so well too.
Well, consider that Michael Sheen right now is only 56 years old. So born in 1969, it wouldn't have been that far off. He would have been like early 30s. So he would have, at that point in time, probably been right in the pocket for that.
This is true.
But I think even the wardrobe was on point for Tim Robbins because, I mean, he would be wearing like jeans and a suit jacket, but not like a suit jacket, but more like
a casual tweed kind of blazer kind of
like
thing.
Old Navy versus, more suit jacket, right? Like, yeah, like he was the perfect mix of youth and like a boyish adult. Like he played it so well. And I just think that there's something very, like I love Michael Sheen, don't get me wrong, but there's something very mature, very commanding or very dapper about him. And I don't think he could pull it off as well.
Matt Smith, maybe?
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Right.
Like there's so many, I feel like, options that we could absolutely throw out and be like that like easily could fit. But like I still don't think I would take any of them over Tim Robbins, which I can't say about a lot of the movies that we have covered.
Well, let's be honest. It's Tim freaking Robbins. Like when he comes to play, he comes to play. So
this is true.
Richard Roundtree. Talk about Shaft as Lyle Barton. Your thoughts?
He was there. And here's, if honestly, Jason, if we want a real connection, Richard Roundtree was also in another movie you and I covered nearly a year ago now in Speed Racer. Richard Roundtree was Ben Burns in Speed Racer.
Oh God!
And both roles were exceptionally minimal and completely forgettable.
I think that's the hard part with this, right? You have Shaft. Talk about Shaft in this role, and you don't really do much with it.
He's a plot device. Like, let's be real. Like, he's the plottiest of plot devices.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in, he gives a business card, they go to the office, he sees the photo, and that's the end of that. Like, that is his character.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing.
The most important thing about his character is the picture on the wall that has the Notre Dame 47 football jersey. So you know that he's in on it too. That's literally all you could have put anyone in that role. And it'd be like, what? Huh?
Well, that was the thing, is like the timing of it. Like at that point, you know that there's really no one you can trust, and yet he's still trying to recruit Milo.
Yeah.
Even though, Milo is there to like ask for his help or divulge all this information.
I think that was initially a test that Barton was giving to Milo, because if Barton is working with Nerve, then this is a test. This is that, are you going to turn on Nerve? Are you going to turn on Gary and feed the NSA all this information? The fact that Milo at that point still goes to Nerve and turns down the NSA, shows that Gary made the right choice in recruiting Milo instead of Teddy. Because Teddy would have gone to the NSA.
No, it's totally true. And I think the plot piece of it is smart, but I think the execution of it is just so irrelevant because at the end of the day, Lyle doesn't even face consequence. So like that's what I say, like he is the plottiest of plot devices. And I don't even mean that inherently negatively as much as it just simply is.
Yeah.
Like his character is only there to serve Gary and Milo's arc, and that's it. Because it doesn't conclude itself. There's no repercussion. It's simply 2.5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. His presence is literally there to act as a trust device. So does he go to the NSA instead of going to Nerve? No, he goes to Nerve. So he can be trusted by, or at least Gary chose wisely. When after he visits the NSA and then realizes that, he's in cahoots as well, the fact that he tells Alice that he did go to the NSA. Okay, so he's being straight up. He still believes that Alice is Alice, so that's okay. So really, he's there as a litmus test for where Milo, or at least where Nerve thinks Milo is at that point.
Which is fine. Like, I want to stress that too. That is more than okay to have. But then going back to how we started this, Jason, like, then why is it Richard Roundtree?
I mean, Richard Roundtree likes to work as well.
I absolutely agree. Get that bag, Richard. All power to you. But like at the same time, like coming from a studio standpoint, I'm like, why would you want to pay him? Like that could have been anyone, literally anyone.
Well, I mean, I don't think Richard Roundtree was commanding massive money around that time. Keep in mind too, yes, he was, appeared in Shaft in 2000 as well, the Samuel L. Jackson version. But I mean, prior to that, he was in George of the Jungle with Brendan Fraser. He was in Steel. Yeah, the Shaquille O'Neal superhero movie Steel. Ooh.
If you shaft George of the Jungle with Brendan Fraser one more time, I will walk.
I didn't say I was shafting the movie. I was just saying that he was in that. That's probably not a big paying role for him. And also Steel.
You look me dead in the eyes right now and tell me there was a negative connotation behind that George of the Jungle comment.
I'm just saying he wasn't making big money for George of the Jungle. Probably not.
Not Brendan Fraser money.
No, not Brendan Fraser money.
The new McCrispy Strip is here. Dip approved by ketchup, tangy barbecue, honey mustard, Sprite, McFlurry, Big Mac sauce, double dipped in buffalo and ranch, more ranch, and creamy chili McCrispy Strip Dip. Now at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku. And it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Yi Ji-so, who played Teddy Chin. Karen, I'm going to start with you. Your thoughts on him?
He was perfect. You know what? As far as what you would expect of a programmer, true and true. And you know what? Even as angry and as hurt as he was that Milo went off to the other guys and left him at that pivotal moment when they got funding, and even, the amount was lessened because they didn't have Milo. Like, he was angry with him, but you could he was still friends. Like, they were still friends. Like, it was that balance he's trying to, maintain. Should he be angry? Should he talk to him? And I'm so glad that he did accept the call, because I think had they played that scene differently, and if he just let the phone ring, and if they never had that closure or that opportunity to talk, that would have been really sad.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where had he not answered the phone, had he still been angry, then I hate to say it, I wouldn't give a damn if Teddy got killed. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I think he would.
I was going to say, I'm like, wow, but fair.
Okay, but let me rephrase that then. I wouldn't feel as strongly about Teddy getting killed as I did because he took the call and because they were able to clearly reconcile. I think the key thing here is this. Teddy makes us care about his death, right? If this was one of the other two guys in the group, which names I can't even bother to tell you right now because they are inconsequential at this point, Teddy actually made us care about him. His death was the one that was going to hit Milo the most. So even though a character's got to die, Yi Ji-so actually made us care about that character. Carson, your thoughts on him?
Yeah, there's about 2 to 3 good people in this movie, and by good I mean like protagonist good, and he is one of them. And it like, I feel like the worst part of it is the fact that like this man just he doesn't die, like he gets beaten to death, like, and that's like the worst part. Is I'm like, and I feel like this is one of the more grounded parts of the movie in some weird twisted way. That it's like he's just going about his life. He's committing to his morals and values. He still obviously is mildly communicating with a friend that not necessarily backstabbed him, but definitely blindsided him. And then what happens? He's in an office. He gets bludgeoned.
Yeah, he gets killed by a guy who looks like the sub-in singer for Smash Mouth.
Oh, God.
It's so true. It's so true. I didn't even think about that. That's beautiful. And it's one of those things where I'm just like, out of everyone that could have died, they take the one good guy. And at the end of the day, like, hey, good on you because you made me care.
Yeah.
And it's not like I was obviously like super invested in Teddy as a character. Like, he didn't have a lot of screen time, but I will say when he was on screen, he was impactful. I did care about the relationship he had with the group. I did care about how emotional Alice was when they find out. It's tough too, because it's honestly one of those characters too where I'm like, we gave Richard Roundtree 2.5 minutes, but like you couldn't have tossed that over to Teddy. Like, I don't know. It's one of those moments too where I'm like, because who is the first friend that dies? It's Larry, right?
No, Larry doesn't die. Larry just ends up working at like the TV station. Teddy's the only one that dies.
Who's the guy that died in the car accident, or is that just random?
That's
an associate?
Rando programmer that Nerve was tracking them as well.
Okay, because at first I had a minute being like, was it one of the people they're working with originally? And then I was like, no, because they all pop up.
Yeah,
but it's one of those moments where you feel bad for Teddy, just an innocent bystander of the movie, doing what he's doing, motoring along, chasing his dreams, getting that venture capital, driving off in his little Ford Ranger, and you want the best for him. And then boom, bat to the head.
Douglas McFerrin, who played Bob Schrott. This is the security guy that eventually turns around and becomes the help that Milo needs. Carson, your thoughts on Bob Schrott?
This dude is sick. Like, quite honestly. Like, honestly, in terms of, like, not necessarily, like, surprises, but definitely, like, oh my God, like, you're a sick guy. And, like, that is the legitimate level of surface that hits. And he's a fun time. He goes and does that. The big scene I feel like I associate with him is when Milo's in his office. Then obviously the bomb is planted and he runs off and everyone is sitting just like cheering for him as he enters the building, but like clearly sarcastically cheering for him and like kind of being an asshole towards him. But then at the end, he comes in so clutch. And then, like, when they get the satellites connected and everything works out, and you see, like, the man's visceral happiness, and you're like, hell yeah, bro. Like, good for you. And that's how I feel about the character.
Carrie, your thoughts on Bob Schrott?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he was so militant, and I don't know, maybe the fact that his character did have that turnabout made him a bit, a redemption arc. Made him likable in the end. But I mean, I don't know, like he was he was there. He played it well. You know, he was very mean in the beginning.
See, I don't think Bob Schrott as a character is likable at all. Even in the end, when he turns around and helps Milo, I still don't think his character is likable. And hear me out on this one. His entire raison d'etre in this film is all these people who work for Nerve, like Gary and all these like geeks they are beneath this guy because he works hard for a living, earns what little money he does, and all these people get to go in and just play on computers. This is his perspective. They just play on computers and they get the world handed to them. This is a guy who's got a massive ass chip on his shoulder. So helping Milo isn't him turning out to be the good guy. This is just him getting his revenge on the entire company of people that he despises.
But like, don't we learn that at the start that he was like a retired, like either like police chief or like FBI, like whatever? So then like, in my assumption, I'm like, Nerve seems like a pretty like, besides your sociopathic boss, like Nerve's kind of a sick place to work. Like, let's be real. Like, it's a pretty cool spot. Yeah. So I'm like, you're telling me that being the head of security isn't coming with at least like 5 zeros at the end of your paycheck?
I don't think it is. And I say that because Gary seems like the kind of guy who would pay all these, whiz kids and minds of the future. These are his people. These are the ones that he connects with. People like Bob, who just sit in an office and watch security cameras. He's not worthy of that kind of money. He's not worthy of that kind of life. He's just there to do the job and to protect everyone else that Gary actually wants working there. Bob, see, it's a class difference from Bob to everyone else at Nerve, and he is holding that on his shoulders like an albatross. So his glee at the end, not because he helped save the day, no, he screwed everybody over at Nerve who he just can't stand.
Okay, but like, I mean, that's kind of valid. Like, at the end of the day, before I did say there was only like 2 to 3 good people in this movie, I never said Bob was one of them. Let me get that out there. But like, I mean, he's also like, I mean, now, okay, you kind of switched my mind because now I'm thinking back to the start too, and I'm like, and you also just like kind of pawn your job off on just the other employees, because even when Milo gets there and gets his card, he's like, hey, if anyone is seen walking around without a card and it's on your swipe, like that's on you. Or if you see someone walking around with ID and you don't approach them, like that's your ass. So I'm like, I don't know, Bob. Like you're kind of forking your job on other people now. You know what, Jason? Fine. Okay, you win.
But I mean, it's not about winning, but the thing is, it sets that up because right off the bat, Milo is just another one of those geek programmers, and he is almost programmed to not like these people right off the bat. And the minute Milo starts to break away from that mold and to start to try to be a cog in the wheel of Nerve, Milo to Bob is more like a useful tool than anything else.
You almost have to wonder if there was like an outtake scene where he might have come across, like, I don't know, footage of maybe Teddy's beating, or maybe he came across, or he had to have become aware of the data files on all the programmers or something.
I don't think Bob cares that much about this place.
No, but you know what though? Like at first he was really militant, and he had incredible pride in his job. Like he wasn't letting anybody in that didn't belong there.
Well, I'm saying Bob didn't care about his job, but what I'm saying is I don't think Bob cared to the point of going deep into it. Probably from his point of view, someone who, was probably ex-military or was like ex-police force, this is the job that he's got because he's no longer a part of that. All these geeks are handed the world to them. They're young brainiacs that make money from a world that he doesn't quite understand. I'm sure he knows how to use the computers well enough, but to program them, these are people who just think in ones and zeros, and that I don't think he connects with that. And you see that too. People who work their ass off to get to the middle, and then people who they perceive as they just walk in and the world is handed to them, there's going to be jealousy there. It's going to be like this, oh, you don't deserve everything you've gotten. Bob kind of feels like that guy.
it just feels like there had to be a turnabout where he no longer wanted to defend and protect the company that he was working for. That maybe he started to see that, you know what, something is not right here. And that Milo actually had a very valid case. And you know what, maybe he was looking for, a promotion back into the police force. Like maybe he wanted out.
It's that line of you wouldn't believe some of the things I could believe about these people. Right? Like,
yeah,
he's keeping tabs.
Oh, 100%. And I think as we're talking about how Gary only cares about his like programmer side of things, I think a really funny character that like this brought back to me, and you probably weren't going to touch on them because they're so irrelevant, but they made me laugh every time. Was that dude with the cubicle next to Milo? That like every time Gary walked by, he was just like, "Hey, what up, Gary?" And Gary just completely fucking ignores him.
Jonathan Young, who played Stinky.
Oh,
yes,
Stinky.
Yes, that
Yeah.
guy. Like that's, I don't know what it is, but every time he did it, and just Gary completely ignored him, just made me howl. And I don't know what it was. It was such like a dumb toss away joke of him just being there, but like, my God, it did it for me. I don't know.
I don't know. How do you go from playing Stinky in this film to playing Nikola Tesla in Sanctuary? That guy's got range, apparently.
Not enough credit given, apparently.
But yeah, is it weird? I almost wanted something to happen to Stinky so then you could put a little bit more pressure on the programmers.
No, you're 100% right. Like I wanted Gary to kind of be more of an asshole to him, just for the sake of Milo being like another reason, being like, oh, Gary's like kind of toxic on a very like surface level term.
But Gary wouldn't be toxic in front of the other programmers in order to encourage them. Clearly there's this small handful that are working directly for him and doing the dirty work. Redmond, who was played by Tyler Labine and who should be singing for Smash Mouth, he was clearly in on the inside there. Obviously, Lisa Callahan, played by Rachel Lee Cook, she's on the ends and knows exactly what's going on. So Stinky's not that guy. Stinky's just a programmer to them, which is probably why he just ignores them. And what's worse, being mean to the guy or just ignoring him?
You know what? In this case scenario, I think you got a point.
All right. We've gotten to the end of the show, except for one little last thing. So Carson, I'm going to start with you. Who is your MVP of 2001's Antitrust?
If any of the two of you say differently than Tim Robbins, you can leave the show. Like, quite honestly, and it's your show. I will beef with this. If you have any other opinion but Tim Robbins being the key to this movie, I don't know if I can return. Like, that might be where I draw the line. I'm not going to lie to you. Because it is. It simply is.
Well, Carson, it's been nice knowing you.
No way. There's no way.
Gary, who's your MVP?
I was just going to say drop the mic, Carson, because you're absolutely right. I agree.
Now, I had Tim Robbins as my runner-up MVP.
Don't do this. Don't do it.
My MVP is not Stinky. It's Yi Ji So, who played Teddy Chin.
You know what? He was my number 2, so like I'm okay with it. But like how? Like, you got to break that down. Like,
okay, and I think the biggest thing here is this. And Carrie, you touched upon this early on in the show. Tim Robbins is on the screen. I expect great things. This is the first time I've ever seen Yi Ji So in anything, and he impressed me right out of the gate. He understood the character. He understood the assignment. He understood the world. Tim Robbins comes in, and it's Tim Robbins, and it's great. Yi Ji So came in and gave me a character that I cared about, that humanized Milo, that made us second guess if Alice was working against Milo because of the way she reacted. Sometimes the death of a character is the most important point of the film.
You know what? Fair enough. I'll return just for you.
I mean, it's not Smash Mouth guy?
It's unfortunately not. I feel like he'd want that for us, but man, like has he, like, this is such a tangent. Has he been in anything else? Like, I don't think I've actually seen that dude in anything else relevant.
So Tyler Labine, Canadian-American actor. Let me go through just some of the films. Just some.
And he's from Brampton too. I have to give him more credit than that. He's Canadian.
Other movies like My Boss's Daughter, Flyboys, Zack and Miri Make a Porno, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. These are all Rise of the Planet of the Apes. He was the voice of Brock Pearson in Monsters University. He was in Rapture Palooza with Anna Kendrick and Frank Robinson. Super Troopers 2, Escape Room. He's been in quite a bit. So, yeah.
Good for him.
Yes, but he has not been in Smash Mouth.
Just never will be, to his own frustration.
Carson, thank you so much for this. Now, before we go, please remind our listeners where they can find you on the interwebs and what you've been up to lately.
Hey, you can find me at CarsonElk12 on X. And I've been saying this for like a gross amount of time, but there's some cool things in the works. So maybe down the road there'll be more that I can share.
All right, and Carrie, well, we know where to find you, like here, always, because you're stuck here. It's contractually obligated, but thank you anyways. And
does she get new editing credits now?
Sorry. And to my editor, Carrie, thank you so much for joining in.
Oh, thank you.
Right? Props go where props need to go.
However, I must say that I'm not editing this podcast.
No, Carrie is the editor of Keep Watch Pass, There Can Only Be One, and Spin Shuffle Skip, so I can put my feet up a little bit more.
I had to pump Carrie's tires. I couldn't let that slide on this episode.
Thank you.
Well, tell you what, I will double her salary so she will make double the amount of nothing.
Carrie, I'm so sorry for your loss.
I was hopeful that maybe I could afford a tea after this, but
Maybe. I'll tell you what, I'll give you the tea bag, but I will not give you the water.
Wow.
That's devastating.
Right?
That's like dangling the carrot. That's brutal.
That's like ignoring Stinky devastating right now.
It would have been nicer if you
Right,
given me the water without the tea.
Wait, that was an option? Okay, so water it is, no tea bag for you. Gotcha. Okay. Dear listeners, you guys know the drill. If there is a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned, or there is no way in a line of code that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadcast or go to our website at NotThatBadcast.com. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to the page and let us know where we can get Carrie a cup of tea, because apparently she needs to get paid for all the editing work that she's doing.
Justice for Carrie.
Until next time.
Right.
She's editor Carrie. He's Carson. I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.